fix that. What's up, guys? A little bit of a tech video today. You can see in the beginning clip there that Esquire, the tone pot at the bottom there, is cutting out, where if you roll the tone all the way on, the connection is loose inside there and it's kind of bypassing everything, so it's like the tone is all the way off. So normally in a situation like that, you just grab some of your deoxit, you spray it in there, work the tone knob around, but it's not really taking care of it. So I'm going to dig inside there, see if I can disassemble the pot totally, clean the wafer board, and then we'll see if we can get it back to functioning 100%. So let's go. All right, so first things first, we'll just, get the control plate out. Shouldn't really be too crazy. I mean, I'm going to remove the pot fully, so there's going to be some soldering involved, but, no big deal. Okay, so one thing to note is the orientation of how everything is going. Now, if you remember from an earlier video I modified this circuit a little bit with a different capacitor to kind of get that forward position where it would usually be really, really dark and all the high end rolled off. You kind of get a usable tone out of it, almost like a Les Paul Jr. So we have our cap and our outside most lug is not being used. Our cap in the center, and we have the wire going to the volume pot towards the end. We have a ground here. So we'll just take a visual memory of that. I've took apart enough of these so I kind of know what I'm looking for. So I mean, some recommended tools, is probably a good Weller soldering iron. I really like the Weller, and it's also a controllable heat range, so it's really great. I think you can find this on Amazon, quite affordable. Basic screwdriver kit, this nut driver screwdriver kit. It's like an all-in-one. You can do everything here with this, and it's simple. You can throw it in your gig bag even. We'll probably be using some standard Q-tips in this setup, and we'll go in there with some deoxit as well, like I showed earlier. The Q-tips are pre-CBS. If anybody grew up in an Italian family, you'll know that your grandmother had a large box of Q-tips in the cupboard, and that usually would last you 2 lifetimes because there was about 50,000 of them in there. So while the soldering iron is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and remove the knob here, the dome knob. That bit's too small. Just a little set screw on the side. Again, the nut driver just coming in clutch here. I'll make sure that all of the electrical connections are off before I try to remove it, because it just frees up the pot. It allows it to move a little easier. And that's what we're going for. Now I'm using these little nippers to pull the wire out. I'm not squeezing it tight. I'm just keeping some pressure on it, like that. There you go. Wire's off. And the great thing too is if you take your time and you're patient, you can really not make a mess of all the solder that's there and keep that original solder somewhat intact. Okay, we are removed. All right, so I removed the guitar for safekeeping. If the camera will zoom in properly, on this lug, there's like a collection of grease and dirt. So I'm just going to disassemble this entire pot. Now, everything was mechanical here. There's no nuts and bolts holding this on to the casing. These little tabs need to be bent up and moved out of the way so this pot can come apart. But I advise you not to bend them out all the way and really take your time working them out, because these will snap off and then you got a loose pot and you're promoting more noise that way. So I'll just get these apart. I use a small flathead. I just get in there and kind of work it. I don't really push it hard enough to break it off. I'm just trying to get that open. So you can see there, I've just ever so slightly bent those up. I don't want to snap them off. I just want to do that on the other side and then carefully wiggle everything out so I don't risk breaking any of those tabs that hold it down. Where it's getting hung up, just maybe focus on those areas in particular. Okay. All right. Well, I see some good things already, but I hope these are things I can correct. We got a bunch of sludge built up in the casing there of the pot. It's like graphite grease, not really what you want in there. So as you can see, that just falls out. And I'm gonna lay all my pieces out in order so I can kind of, remember. I know how they go, but I mean, a tip for you guys is just lay them out in order as you take them apart. Okay, so these are a little different. It has a snap ring to it. I just want to spray this down now and kind of get everything lubricated. It's so dry to the touch inside there. That's the first wipe off there. You don't ever want to use WD-40 or anything like that to fix a pot. Well, I can't say that. If you plan on totally disassembling it after and cleaning it, and you're just using the WD-40 as an agent to free it up, then I suppose that works. But if you're if you're looking to clean it on the quick, spraying a pot with WD-40 is not really the best way to go about it, because that's just gonna allow grease and dirt to adhere to the WD-40. It's a good water repellent, but it's not a grease and dirt repellent, So I'm just, I'm going to see how much effort I can make, or how much I can clean by kind of getting in there surgical with this Q-tip first. And I don't have a snap ring plier set up or anything small enough to really get in there right now without making a mess. But here's what I am doing. I'm kind of moving this contact wafer out of the way, and as I'm doing that, I'm going along the edge where the contact, or the legs of the other half of the pot. So you can see those two little L-shaped connections. I really want to get under those and clean that up, but it's going to involve removing that small snap ring, and that's going to be quite tricky. Let's see if I can figure something out. But so far you can see where I've gone along the edge here and wiped out all that stuff. And I have, if you look at the Q-tips, I mean, I have taken quite a bit of mess out of there. But give me a minute and I want to see if I can get this snap ring off. So we haven't got too lucky getting into those tabs there. I think the only thing I can really do is slightly lift up that brass leg that's hanging down and slide a piece of paper towel and just wipe it clean as I can. Alright, so not 100% how I wanted it to go, but we're going to take these two halves now. I did get it clean quite a bit. And, I feel comfortable that I found a lot of that caked up. It looks like the old sediment. It looks like the old grease they would put at the bottom of these, so just dried up. Guitars from 57, so. All right, if you're very careful, you can see lining up the tabs the right way, you can fit that back in there. Once I have that in seated, I'll just bend the larger 2 tabs over to kind of hold it down. And then I see, you can see that here, that last click too. So to kind of hold it down, and then I'll go and carefully bend all those other ones over. All right, we're back assembled. It does move quite smooth. And I just broke out the voltmeter to see if, the multimeter to see if I still got the same reading. Wow. That 250K pot from 1957 measures out at 289, 290. That's what I say about the old pots, is everybody will always say, you know, there's a lot of extra 5% in the pots. And I feel like that just is a clear example right there. You get a little bit of brightness. And then being in an Esquire of all things, I wonder if that's why that guitar is extremely bright, because the pot reads so high. Either way, I'll put it back because it's original to the guitar. Maybe I can find another 57 pot and test it, or just solder in another tone pot at some point. But for now, for this video, we're just going to get this thing back together. There it is. Hopefully it's fixed. We'll find out in a minute. I mean, for the reassembly, it's kind of just, you know what I mean, straightforward, kind of remembering everything you had going on earlier. With this too, I'm not trying to use crazy heat. I'm just getting a nice solder joint flowing. So we're soldered back up. Just double check everything. I'll get the nut to this and I'll put this on now instead of tightening down the control cavity first, because sometimes when you crank on that nut holding the pot in, you could spin the actual pot itself and break something loose, and then you got to take it all back apart again and see what you broke. So I just, you know, I'll do it this way, physically hold the pot itself while I'm tightening it. All right, so we got it all bolted in. Just working all that deoxit and all that cleaning stuff, trying to get it to settle. So that sucked. I'm pissed. Yeah, no matter what, I think it's a bad pot. But I'm wondering, because you can hear how bright that position is when the tone is rolled off. I'm wondering if that pot has something to do with the brightness. I can go check my junk drawer. I believe I have a couple of 1955 pots. So I'll go grab my bag of tricks. Maybe we can just work on this a little bit. We've already unsoldered the joint, so we've committed sin. Might as well just keep going with it and get it right. Right? Bag of goodies. You know, so I'm always telling you guys in the videos that I do like to hoard some of this old stuff. 253 exact. I had another one around here too. Here's another 55 pot. 250. All right, we're gonna go with this one. It's a 66 pot, but it measures out as 250K. It seems like it's in good shape. We'll spray it out, we'll install it, and we'll see what happens. Let's do it. High, live, and dirty. It's a Hendrix bootleg. Check that one out. It's pretty cool. Great version of Stone Free on there. You know, if the brightness does change, then it allows me to, you know, relate that to other things and say, well, I wonder what kind of effect the pot will have on a Strat. And, you know, we're always tone hunting. We're always trying to figure stuff out. And this is a great way to go about it. You know, it's Saturday morning. We're healthy. We're clean. We got coffee. Now, you can bet if this was 100% original example of a 57 Esquire, untouched, you know, found under a bed, only played on Sundays at church, one of those deals, I would not be doing this. I would leave that pot be. I wouldn't be touching a solder joint. You know, but that's a lot of the fun in finding, you know, the quote-unquote player-grade vintages. You can kind of geek out and not feel guilty, you know? Especially like if you got a rewound pickup or something like that, or, you know, the pots have been changed. They've already been changed, so you can experiment and have fun on your own, you know? Don't let anybody tell you can't. I know some of you guys have asked me about soldering and stuff, and everybody has their own way to do it. When you're dealing with a heavy surface like this, and you got to get the pots grounded, being a mechanic and dealing with the automotive industry, I can't stress how important grounds are. They're 50% of the circuit. So if I'm soldering like a ground, I'll give myself a surface. I'll scratch it so it's got a good tooth to bite to. And it don't take much. There you are. All right, round two. Yup, definitely knocked the brightness down. I can tell just by doing that. Well, there you go. That's going to stay that way. I really like it. I was skeptical at first, and I was bummed out that I had to pull the original pot out, but as you can hear in the tone, it took some of that shrillness, some of that brightness off, and the guitar is more usable that way to me. I mean, now we definitely have, you know, we have a clean running pot. We have our cool kind of Gibson tone up top. We have that volume and tone function here. And all the way back, we have lookout. So I hope you guys can apply this to some of your stuff. If you want to do some tone hunting or experimenting, don't be afraid. And it's also like being a player grade guitar. It really, really helps the fact that, you know, you don't have to feel so guilty, even though I did. But it allowed me to do some research, collect some data, and fix a guitar. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Peace. Here's another tech tip for you guys. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. If you're like me and your Telecaster switch tip falls off while filming a video 352 times, and it gets really annoying, just take yourself a pair of nippers, the same ones we use in the video, and just pinch, put a little groove in the switch tip, in the three-way switch. You know, so you're kind of just putting some ridges around it. And then if all goes right, when you get done, you should be able to put this on and it makes an audible click. There you go. Boom. Just an extra tip. No pun intended. Puns, man. Killing them.